I stared at my phone, reading the message for the third time. The family group chat had been buzzing all morning. "Mom, we've been talking," my daughter Sarah had written. "The Napa trip is going to be a lot of walking, wine tastings, hiking between vineyards, long dinners. We just think maybe you'd be more comfortable sitting this one out?" My son David jumped in immediately. "Yeah, Mom. No offense, but we want to keep a good pace. You know how you get tired." Rebecca, my youngest, added a heart emoji. "We love you. Maybe next time we'll plan something more." Low-key, I set the phone down on my kitchen counter. The morning light came through the window, falling across the newspaper I'd been reading. An advertisement for Auberge du Soleil caught my eye. Napa Valley. The same weekend they were going. I'd spent 43 years as a nurse, 12-hour shifts on my feet, running codes at 2 in the morning, holding the hands of dying patients while their families slept in the waiting room. I'd raised 3 children while working full-time after their father walked out, put them all through college, never once asked them for help, and now I was too slow for a wine-tasting weekend. I picked up my phone again. The chat had moved on. They were discussing which Airbnb to book. "Budget-friendly," they said. $1,200 split 5 ways for 3 nights. $240 each. "Sounds perfect," I typed. "You kids have a wonderful time." I meant it. I truly did. Then I opened a new browser window and searched for Auberge du Soleil. The rate for their vineyard suite made me pause. $2,800 per night. For 3 nights, I'd be looking at $8,400, plus food, wine, spa treatments. I thought about the settlement check I'd received last year. The accident on Highway 101 hadn't been my fault. The other driver had run a red light, totaled my car, left me with a fractured collarbone and months of physical therapy. The insurance payout had been substantial, $140,000 after legal fees. I'd put it all in a savings account. Hadn't touched a penny, saving it for emergencies, for the future, for my kids if they needed it. What was I saving it for, exactly? I clicked the reservation button. The vineyard suite had a private terrace overlooking the valley, a soaking tub, fireplace, 24-hour room service. When was the last time anyone had served me? I entered my credit card information. My hand hovered over the confirm button for maybe 5 seconds. Then I booked it. 3 nights, $8,400. I even added the spa package. Another $1,500. $10,300 for a weekend alone in wine country. I felt lightheaded. I'd never spent that much money on myself in my entire life. When George was alive, our idea of luxury was Red Lobster on our anniversary. My phone buzzed. Sarah again. "Mom, did you see they have a hot tub at the Airbnb? Too bad you can't come. Maybe we'll FaceTime you from there." I smiled. Typed back. "That sounds lovely. Sweetie, I didn't tell them about my reservation. Why would I? They'd already decided what I could and couldn't handle." The next 2 weeks passed in a strange haze. I didn't mention my plans to anyone. Not my sister Linda, not my friend Joyce from church. This was mine alone. I packed carefully. Not my usual sensible slacks and comfortable shoes. I went shopping, bought 3 new outfits from Nordstrom. Linen pants in cream, a silk blouse in dove gray, a cashmere wrap that cost more than I usually spent on clothes in 6 months. The saleswoman, probably in her 30s, had looked at me with such genuine warmth. "Going somewhere special?" "Wine country," I'd said. "Oh, how wonderful. Anniversary trip?" "No," I'd replied. "Just me." She'd smiled even wider. I packed my good jewelry. The pearl earrings George had given me for our 20th anniversary. The gold bracelet I'd bought myself after my first year as head nurse. Friday morning came. I loaded my small suitcase into my car. The kids' Airbnb was in Yountville. My resort was in Rutherford, maybe 15 minutes away, close enough to run into them, far enough to be my own world. The drive north from San Francisco took just under 2 hours. I'd left early to avoid traffic, put on classical music, watched the landscape change from urban sprawl to rolling hills covered in vines. When I pulled up to Auberge du Soleil, a young man in a crisp uniform appeared at my car door before I'd even turned off the engine. "Welcome to Auberge," he said, opening my door. "Checking in?" "Yes." "Eleanor Morrison." "Wonderful, Mrs. Morrison. I'll take care of your luggage. Please, head inside to the reception desk. They're expecting you." He was expecting me. Someone was expecting me. The lobby took my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the valley. Olive trees. Infinity pools that seemed to pour into the vineyards beyond. Everything was earth tones and natural light and quiet elegance. "Mrs. Morrison?" The woman at the desk had perfect posture and a genuine smile. "We're so pleased to have you with us. I see you've booked our vineyard suite." "Yes, a perfect choice. And I see you've also reserved our signature spa experience for tomorrow afternoon?" "I have." "Excellent. Let me arrange for your room to be prepared with some welcome amenities. Do you have any dietary restrictions? We'd like to send up some wine and cheese from our vineyard." I almost said no. Old habit. Don't make a fuss. Don't be any trouble. "I love everything," I said instead. "Surprise me." She smiled like I'd given her a gift. "It would be my pleasure. Now, let me show you to your suite." We took a golf cart up a winding path through the property. Other guests strolled along walkways. A couple sat on a terrace, wine glasses catching the afternoon sun. Everyone moved slowly, peacefully. No one was rushing me along. The suite was at the end of a private row. When she opened the door, I had to remind myself to breathe. The room was larger than my entire first floor at home. Vaulted ceilings. A king bed with linens that looked like clouds. The terrace stretched the length of the suite, overlooking rows of grapevines that seemed to ripple to the horizon. "Your welcome amenities will arrive shortly," she said. "Please don't hesitate to call if you need anything at all." Anything. When she left, I walked out onto the terrace, set my purse down on a teak lounger, stood at the railing. I'd spent 4 decades caring for other people, literally keeping them alive. And somewhere along the way, I'd become someone my own children thought couldn't keep up on a vacation. I heard a knock. Opened the door to find a young woman with a tray. "Your welcome service, Mrs. Morrison." She set up the tray on the terrace table. A bottle of the resort's private label wine, a selection of local cheeses, fresh fruit, artisan crackers, chocolate truffles. "Can I pour you a glass?" she asked. "Yes, please." She poured with practiced elegance, handed me the glass. "If there's anything else you'd like this evening, just dial 0. We have 24-hour room service, and our restaurant can prepare anything you desire. Thank you. Enjoy your stay, Mrs. Morrison. You deserve it." She couldn't have known how much those 3 words meant. I sat on the terrace with my wine as the sun started its descent. Photos of the kids arriving at their Airbnb. The place looked nice enough. A little cramped for 5 adults. The hot tub was smaller than it had looked in the listing. "Wish Mom could see this," Rebecca had written. I sipped my wine, took a photo of my view, the golden light on the vineyards, the mountains in the distance. Then I deleted it. This wasn't about showing them what they'd underestimated. This was about showing myself what I'd forgotten. That I was still here, still whole, still capable of joy. I ordered room service for dinner, sea bass with roasted vegetables, a small carafe of Chardonnay, creme brulee for dessert. They delivered it on a cart with a white tablecloth. Set it up on my terrace. Left me with the sunset and the quiet. I ate slowly, tasted everything, let myself have seconds of the creme brulee. When had I stopped doing this? When had every meal become something rushed between tasks, or something cooked for others while I ate the leftovers standing at the sink? That night, I slept in the softest sheets I'd ever touched, woke to sunlight streaming through gauze curtains, ordered coffee and pastries to the room. The service was immediate, discreet, perfect. "Good morning, Mrs. Morrison," the young man said, setting up my breakfast. "Do you have reservations anywhere?" "Not yet. I'd be happy to arrange something for you. What style do you prefer?" "We have relationships with all the best rooms in the valley. Something intimate," I said. His face lit up. "I know exactly the place. There's a boutique winery about 10 minutes from here. Family owned. They do private tastings by appointment only. Would you like me to see if they have availability today?" "Yes." Within an hour, I had a reservation for a private tasting at 2 p.m. The concierge gave me directions, suggested I take the scenic route through the valley. I dressed in my new linen pants and silk blouse. The cashmere wrap draped over my shoulders. Pearl earrings. In the mirror, I looked like someone who belonged here. The winery was exactly as promised. Intimate. A family business now in its third generation. The woman who guided my tasting, Sophia, was probably my age. She'd grown up on this land, she said. Left for college and a career in law, then came back to help her father when he got sick. "Everyone thought I was crazy," she said, pouring me a Cabernet. "Giving up a partnership at a firm for dirt under my fingernails." "Were you?" She smiled. "Probably, but I'd spent 30 years doing what I thought I should do. This is what I wanted to do." We talked for 2 hours. About wine, yes, but also about children who mean well but don't always understand. About husbands we'd lost. About the strange freedom that comes with age, if you're brave enough to claim it. "You're here alone?" she asked as I was leaving. "Yes, good for you." I drove back through the valley slowly, stopped at a roadside stand and bought olive oil and honey from a woman who reminded me of my mother. When I told her I was staying at Auberge, she didn't look surprised. "You have that look," she said. "What look?" "Like someone who finally decided she mattered." Back at the resort, I had my spa appointment. 90 minutes of massage, facial, and something called a wine therapy wrap that sounded ridiculous and felt like heaven. The therapist, Maria, had hands that knew every knot in my back. Years of nursing had left their mark. "You carry a lot of tension here," she said, working on my shoulders. "Do you remember to take care of yourself?" "I'm learning," I said. That evening, I had dinner at the resort restaurant, asked for a table on the terrace, ordered the tasting menu with wine pairings. The sommelier was a woman in her 40s who talked about each wine like introducing me to old friends. The chef sent out extra courses, a palate cleanser of Meyer lemon sorbet, a pre-dessert of chocolate mousse. I was the only solo diner on the terrace, but I didn't feel alone. I felt present. My phone buzzed occasionally, the family chat. They'd gone to a winery that afternoon, waited 45 minutes for a tasting. The tour had been too long. Rebecca's feet hurt. "Good thing Mom didn't come," David wrote. "She would have been miserable." I set the phone face down. Took another sip of Pinot Noir. Sunday morning, my last full day. I woke early, ordered coffee to the terrace, watched the sun burn off the morning fog. I'd been thinking about something Sophia said at the winery. About choosing what you want over what you should. All my life, I'd been someone's something, someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's nurse, always in service to someone else's needs. Who was I when no one needed me? I was still figuring that out. But I thought maybe she was someone who drank good coffee on a terrace overlooking vineyards, someone who tipped generously and said yes to dessert, someone who took up space without apologizing. Around noon, my phone rang. "Sarah, Mom, you won't believe this." We just saw a sign for Auberge du Soleil. David wanted to try their restaurant for lunch, but it's crazy expensive. Like $100 per person just for lunch. I looked out at the terrace where I'd had dinner. That does sound expensive, right? Anyway, we're going to find somewhere more reasonable. How's your weekend been? Quiet, I said. Restful. That's good. You probably needed that more than wine country anyway. After we hung up, I sat with that for a moment. Then I called the concierge. Mrs. Morrison, how can I help you? I'd like to book a table for lunch at the restaurant. Terrace, if possible. Of course. For what time? I checked my watch. 12:30? Consider it done. I changed into my cream linen pants and the dove gray silk blouse, the cashmere wrap, gold bracelet. The restaurant was moderately full. Couples, mostly. A few small groups. I was seated at a terrace table with a view of the valley. Halfway through my appetizer, I heard familiar voices. My 3 children walked onto the terrace, following the hostess, looking around at the other diners like they'd entered a museum. They didn't see me at first. I watched them be seated 3 tables away, watched David pick up the menu and visibly react to the prices. Sarah pulled out her phone. I'm going to text Mom a photo of this place. She'd love it. I set down my fork, took a breath. Then I stood, walked to their table. Rebecca saw me first. Her mouth actually fell open. Mom? Sarah and David turned. Their expressions went from confusion to shock. Hi, kids. What are you doing here? Sarah stood up. Are you having lunch here? I am. But this place is so expensive. Did you know it was part of a resort? Like, a really fancy resort? I did know that. David was staring at me. Mom, your outfit. Is that new? It is. But I don't understand. You're staying nearby? I could have lied. Could have said I was just passing through, treating myself to one meal. Instead, I said, I'm staying here. At the resort. Complete silence. Here? Rebecca repeated. At Auberge du Soleil? Yes, the Vineyard Suite. I've been here since Friday. Sarah's face went through several expressions. But that's $10,300 to be exact, including the spa package. More silence. You spent $10,000 on a weekend alone? David's voice had an edge I didn't care for. I did, but you said you were fine with staying home. You agreed we should have fun without worrying about you keeping up. I am fine. And I did want you to have fun. Those 2 things can both be true. The hostess appeared, looking uncertain. Everything's fine, I said. These are my children. I was just saying hello. Oh, how lovely. Would you like to join them for lunch, Mrs. Morrison? I looked at my 3 children, at their confused, slightly embarrassed faces. Thank you, but I have my own table. I'm expecting the sommelier to guide me through the wine pairings. I turned back to Sarah, David, and Rebecca. Enjoy your lunch. The tasting menu is excellent. I walked back to my table, sat down. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. The sommelier arrived with my next wine, the Chardonnay from our estate vineyard, Mrs. Morrison. Notes of pear and honeysuckle. Thank you. I didn't look over at my children's table, but I could feel them watching me, could imagine their whispered conversation. After lunch, I went back to my suite, sat on the terrace. 20 minutes later, there was a knock. All 3 of them stood at my door. Mom, Sarah started. Can we talk? I let them in, watched them take in the suite, the terrace, the view. Mom, this is incredible, Rebecca said softly. It is. We stood there for a moment. Then David spoke. We messed up. You didn't mess up. You planned a trip that worked for you, but we didn't even ask if you wanted to come, Sarah said. We just decided you couldn't handle it. You said I'd slow you down. You wouldn't have, Rebecca said. She had tears in her eyes. We would have. I looked at my youngest daughter. What do you mean? We were moving fast because we thought we should. Wine tasting, hiking, constantly going. But honestly, my feet are killing me. I've been exhausted since yesterday. I kept thinking how you probably would have suggested we slow down, enjoy things more, and we would have ignored you because we thought we knew better. Sarah nodded. The Airbnb's been kind of a disaster. We're on top of each other. Someone's always in the bathroom when you need it. Last night we had cup noodles for dinner because we were too tired to go out again. And here you are, David said, drinking wine pairings on a terrace that costs more per night than most people's mortgages. Here I am, I agreed. How? Sarah asked. I mean, I know that's rude to ask, but Mom, you've always been so frugal. I saved the settlement from the accident. All of it. I was keeping it for emergencies. For you kids if you needed help. Then I realized I'm 67 years old. When exactly was I planning to use it? So, you spent it on this. Some of it, yes. Rebecca sat down on the edge of the couch. I'm so sorry, Mom. We made you feel like you weren't capable. You made me realize I'd forgotten I was capable. There's a difference. Are you mad at us? David asked. I thought about that. Was I? No, I said finally. I'm not mad. I'm just different now. I spent 43 years as a nurse. 43 years putting everyone else first. Then you kids needed me, and I put you first. Your father left, and I had to be both parents, so I put myself absolutely last. And somewhere in there, I forgot that I was allowed to want things, to do things, to take up space. You're allowed, Sarah said. God, Mom, you're so allowed. I know that now. We talked for another hour. They told me about their weekend, the overcrowded Airbnb, the 2 long wine tours. I told them about Sophia's winery, about Maria's massage, about the cheese course at dinner that had 8 different selections. When they left, Rebecca hugged me tight. Next time we plan a trip, we're asking if you want to come. Really asking. And if I say yes, then we plan it together. Your pace, not ours. And if I say no, Sarah smiled, then we'll know you're probably booking a villa in Tuscany or something. After they left, I sat back on the terrace. The sun was starting its slow descent. My phone buzzed. A message in the family chat. Sarah had sent a photo of me on the terrace. I didn't even know she'd taken it. Our mom, she'd written. Living her best life at Auberge du Soleil. Sorry we ever doubted you. You're an inspiration, Rebecca replied with heart emojis. David wrote, Love you, Mom. You deserve all of this. And more. I looked at the photo, at the woman in the cashmere wrap with the wine glass, smiling at something off camera. She looked happy. She looked free. She looked like she finally remembered who she was. That night, my last night, I had dinner at the restaurant again, ordered champagne with dessert. The sommelier, recognizing me from lunch, brought out something special. This is from our private reserve, she said. Compliments of the management. They wanted you to know how much they've enjoyed having you here. The bubbles were perfect, delicate, and joyful. When I checked out the next morning, the same woman from reception helped me. I hope you had a wonderful stay, Mrs. Morrison. I did. Thank you. I did. Thank you. Will you be returning? I thought about that. About the woman I'd been when I arrived and the woman I was leaving as. Yes, I said. I will. She smiled. We'll be here. The drive home felt different. The same highway, the same exits, but I was changed. I'd spent $10,000 on a weekend. Money I could have saved, could have given to my kids. Instead, I'd spent it on myself. On wine and cheese and soft sheets. On someone calling me Mrs. Morrison, with respect in their voice, on remembering that I wasn't just someone's mother or someone's nurse. I was Eleanor, and Eleanor deserved Chardonnay with notes of pear and honeysuckle, deserved terrace views and someone else cooking dinner, deserved to take up space without apologizing. When I got home, I unpacked slowly, hung up my new clothes, put my jewelry back in the box on my dresser. The pearls caught the light. George had given them to me 33 years ago. For the best wife a man could ask for, he'd said. I'd been a good wife, a good mother, a good nurse, and now, finally, I was learning to be good to myself. My phone buzzed. Sarah, Mom, we've been talking. What if we plan a real trip together? Somewhere you pick. And we do it your way. I smiled, typed back, I'd like that. Then I added, but I'm also booking myself another solo trip in the fall. Maybe the coast of Maine. She replied immediately, you're my hero. I set the phone down, looked around my quiet house. It was the same house I'd left 3 days ago, but it felt different now, because I was different. I'd learned something important in Napa Valley. Something I should have known all along but had forgotten somewhere between raising children and caring for patients and surviving on my own. I mattered. Not because of what I could do for others, not because of who needed me, but simply because I existed. Because I was here. Because I deserved gentleness and beauty and champagne from the private reserve. And I'd learned something else. Something that made me smile as I looked out my kitchen window at my small garden. Being slow wasn't a weakness. Sometimes slow meant savoring, meant noticing, meant actually tasting the wine instead of just drinking it. My children had been afraid I'd slow them down. And that would have been the gift.